Hi everyone, we're here today again at nsquared office in Sydney, Australia, and Dr. Neil and I are going to talk about one of the things that sets Surface apart from other touchscreens, and that is the Surface vision recognition. So Dr. Neil, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess a lot of people look at Surface and they think it's a touchscreen, which makes sense. You touch it and it reacts. It has this unmediated response to, finger input. But it's not a typical touchscreen. It's actually a vision system. It has 5 cameras, and we talked about that when we discussed the hardware. There's a camera in each corner and a camera in the center, and it uses these cameras to detect when things are placed on top of the surface. And you can, as a developer building applications for Surface, use that touch system or vision system to do some rather clever things. So for a start, you can, out of the box, the SDK will allow you to determine if it's a finger, a tagged object. I should have brought a tag along, but it's one of those objects with lots of white dots on it, or a blob. And a blob is pretty much everything that's not a tag nor a finger. And so using that, you can first of all determine, is it someone's finger pushing down on this, or has someone just put their car keys down, or is it a tagged object, which lets you then take it to the next level and start doing some interesting things. And because there's 2 things you can do really in the SDK. One is you can access the raw images, and the other one is you can use a WPF control called a tag visualizer. Now, accessing the raw images lets you do some really quite clever things, and you could build your own type of tags. You could start recognizing certain images or patterns that are placed down on top of the surface unit, on top of the tabletop. So, someone puts a certain formatted piece of paper or formatted non-tag but type of tag down on the tabletop, then there's some opportunities to do some interesting things there. If you know within the context of your deployment, there'll be certain things placed on the tabletop. An example might be, for example, in a shoe shop, and you start putting different shoes down. Maybe you can determine the type of shoe or the shoe size. You can recognize when a blob is placed or when any object is placed on top of the surface unit, what its area is, what its bounding rectangle is, and bounding ellipse, and so you can start using some of that information in a smart way to build applications that appear magically to respond to other things apart from just fingers that are placed on top of the table. And that's where you start getting that extra value of magic appearing. So you can do that using the raw image that you can pull off the table. Now, to do that, you need to use the core API. It's not supported raw image capture. It's not supported in WPF API. So you can do that in the core API. We have examples of how to do that we teach in the class, and that's going to be in the book that we're producing as well. So if you want to grab those core images. And then I mentioned the tag visualizer. The tag visualizer is a WPF control that will respond to either byte tags or identity tags. And when you put a tag down, it'll actually display a visualization. And you can define that in Blend or in WPF in Visual Studio or whatever your favorite WPF editing tool is, what that visualization should look like, what that rendered display should look like whenever a tag is placed down. And you can have different things for different tags. So you could have, if you use byte tags, 255 different visualizations, one that appears for each tag type, right? Or you can associate a visualization with a tag. And in fact, the labs that we built for PDC last year, PDC 08, did exactly that. As a tag was put down, it gave you an option of like 12 different images to associate with that tag. And then from then onwards, that tag was associated with that image. So whenever you put the tag down on the table, that image would appear. And you could change it by clicking on the image and it'd bring up a new visualization and it would change it. But that just is very, very simple, very fast way of using tag visualizing is using the tag visualizations and tag visualizer in WPF. But yeah, it creates a much more powerful, much richer opportunity space for us to build more engaging software on the table than just touch.
Right. So this so-called object recognition really does set Surface apart from the other kinds of touch screens that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else out there commercially available. There are some private builds and some people doing, researchy type projects, building systems that enable us to do things like that. But in terms of commercial availability, there's nothing out there that really has this richness of vision capability and the toolkit, developer toolkit, to put it all together. There are a lot of touchscreens out there in the market. You know, it's a growing market, there's no doubt about it, as people want the unmediated contact. They're going for that whole NUI experience and, you know, trying to create, you know, remove the GUI artifacts from the interface, and just touch things. But just touch is not the same as being able to, say, put a book down on the table and know that it's a book, or, you know, put a pamphlet down and know which pamphlet it is, or put an identity card down and know that it's you that's put your identity card down. You know, you take that and a whole bunch of extra magic appears. Things like, you know, if you're within a restaurant, being able to know roughly the size of a plate and a glass and a cup and a fork and a knife, and then as those things get put down on the table, different reactions occur, different things happen in the visualizations. That's very powerful metaphors for creating rich, engaging environments.
Great. Well, is there anything else you have to say on this topic?
I think the big thing for software developers is think about how those objects put on the table can react to your software and become part of the experience. So, you know, if you put a book down and it's a game and someone puts a book down on the table, can everything rebound off the side of it? Or if you're doing some kind of, you know, business focused type application and someone puts their laptop down on the table, all the objects that are underneath it should move away so you don't lose anything. Right. So it knows that there's this shape that's been put down on top of the table, so now move everything that was underneath it, move it away, so it's now still visible. Those kind of things will add a huge amount of value to the software. They make it appear that extra level of magic.
Right. Well, definitely Surface is a magical device, and I guess object recognition is one of those things that really sets it apart.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Great talking to you about that today.
Thanks.
And we'll see you again next time.